Hey everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, overwhelmed Christians who want to get out of that insanity and start living in freedom and abundance and peace. I'm Liz Ferrix, and this is my husband Evan.
Hello.
And we're so glad you guys are here with us on this ever so lovely Wednesday.
Yep.
I mean, I pretty much like every day except for Friday.
Wow. You're contrary.
Well, no, I do like Friday too, because I like being able to work on Saturday.
Yeah. There you go. We're getting there.
Anyway, this week we are talking about addiction. And as you guys know, we work our way through the CSCs. They are being calm, surrendered, centered, connected, and complete. One every day of the week. So since it's Wednesday, we're going to talk about being centered.
Well, I think we're going to approach this from the opposite side, right? Like the dangers of not being centered and how we get off center. Because that's what leads us to our addictions, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely feel like, okay, so I was thinking about this and I was like, man, I think 90% of my stress comes from this CSC when I'm not applying it. And then I was thinking about the other ones and I was like, well, no, maybe 20% of my stress.
From this one.
Yeah.
And
but
20 from each one.
Yes.
That makes sense.
But sometimes, I don't know, every day when we talk about one of them, I'm like, oh yeah, that is such a huge stressor to me.
Yeah.
But they all are, so. But really, this one is a huge stressor. I mean, being off center means that you're lurching from one thing to the next. Like, you're living in overwhelm.
Oh,
you're
sure.
not being yourself.
Because you're not moving from a place of like peace and strength, or what do you mean? What lurching?
Well, because you're off balance, because you're not being fully yourself. And so that means that, like...
You're like stumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I see.
And maybe it's my people-pleasing nature, but if I haven't, like... So I think of being centered as, like, sticking this post in the ground and being like, this is me... This is what's important to me. This is what I should be doing. If I'm not living out of that, I just kind of let people pull me every which direction. It's very stressful.
Yeah. I think I do that too. When I was in, I don't know what grade it was, some grade, because I took art class in all the grades I could. But you're supposed to draw pressure. And I drew.
I remember that.
Yeah, I drew a picture of a guy with like ropes around his arms and legs and all over his body. And he was in the center, but he was getting pulled out in all these directions. And so, like, you think of pressure as like this force coming in, like squishing you in a vice or something. But I thought of it as kind of like you just described, getting pulled in all directions and not knowing which one to yield to and trying to not yield to any of them somehow and kind of failing. And there's no solid, like, this is where I am balanced on this solid rock here of a foundation of some kind.
Yeah, I feel like knowing who God has called you to be, knowing who you are as his child, having that, I mean, we're getting into tomorrow's stuff, but having that connection with him, and then, knowing what God has called you to do, what is important to you. Like, for instance, it would be a total waste of time for someone to pay me to paint paintings. It would be a waste of my time. It would be a waste of their time. Could you draw paintings? No. Well. I can't draw. I can't paint. It's a disaster. So, I mean, maybe if I had spent time learning, yada, yada, I could develop that skill. Whatever. But the point is, I know that is not my strong point.
Yeah, so if why waste their time and yours?
Right. If somebody's like, hey, could you paint me a painting? I can instantly go, no. Yeah. Like, that is a bad idea. So having that foundation where you really know yourself, you really know what's important to you and what's, like I said, who God's designed you to be, you can say no so easily. You can be like, that is not loving of me to take up your time.
Yeah, it's actually grace.
Right.
And then when you say yes, it's strong. It's like, yeah, absolutely.
Right, yeah. There was I can't remember who said it, but in one of Tim Ferriss's interviews in his Tools of Titans book, which I totally loved, but in one of those, he talked about the difference between, it might have even been Tim Ferriss talking about it, but the difference between saying a lukewarm, like, sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure. And he was like, I was saying way too many sures and no hell yes.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, if we're going to say yes, let's make sure it's a hell yeah to anything. Because
Right.
if you can't say that, then say no.
Yeah. It's such a flip flop of what we think, right? Where, yeah, we're stuck in that middle place more often than not, I think.
Right.
And I think we get stuck there because of our weak understanding of our, like you were just saying, my identity, according to who God made me, is what? I mean, not a painter. That's part of it, right? But then there's these
Right.
positive ones too. That's like, I am a critical thinker. I'm a writer. Whatever. Yeah. So we want to understand ourselves and move from that.
Right. And, one of the things that I love that we've talked about before is when you're trying to find calling, think about what is your pain. Because God wants to take your pain and turn it into your passion. Like, I am very passionate about natural health because I have a chronic illness. And I think that's another part of being centered. Like we talked about before with dealing with those coals that are causing the addiction. If we're not dealing with those things, we're not being who God designed us to be.
Mm-hmm.
We're allowing those anchor points, carrying around the baggage. One of the ways I like to think about it is like we've got this backpack full of baggage, but when we unpack it, it's like an airplane that we're dragging
Oh,
along
sure.
behind us instead of
That we could be
riding in
flying.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's a caution here, though, too, that I'd throw out. I know from being in support groups and stuff, I think there's a way to be so defined by your pain and your failures that it actually
Oh, yeah.
is like a millstone around your neck. In 12 step, especially the groups I was in, it was like, hi, my name is Evan and I'm an addict. And it's
Right.
like the addict guy gets so much attention because that's the point of the group,
Right.
that you could become a career addict guy and you might be 20 years sober, but you're still
Your
calling yourself an
identity is
addict
still
and
as
you're
an
still at the
addict.
meetings and you're not actually doing the bigger, you haven't entered into that spacious place where you're more free to do what God wants you to do. So
Right.
maybe you're not acting out, but you're not really like thriving either. I've seen so many guys that seem like that's what was happening.
It's kind of
And
like
we don't
still
want to,
carrying around the airplane,
yeah.
Like if you're not using your pain to somehow help other people, like if it just has changed your life and it hasn't changed anyone else's life, then you're not
No.
there yet.
Yeah. And I think there's something to like, it's tricky because there's a magic to the group where it is helping people to just be there. Like if
Right.
nobody showed up for the group except for the drunk guy who just last night decided he wanted to get sober, it wouldn't work.
Right.
But I don't know. There's something about that. I guess, yeah. We want to move from God's center, God's definition of us.
Yeah.
And if our definition of us is, I mean, even if it's like, hi, I'm a sinner saved by grace, like that's true and that's an amazing thing. But isn't it more true to say that I'm in God's terms? Like, what does he see when he sees us? I'm a saint standing in good standing with God because of Jesus's sacrifice on the earth.
Yeah.
Like, what's more true? They're both true, but where do we? I don't know. What helps us fulfill God's mission more? I mean, the gospel of grace is always going to be like our pain, and then our transformation out of that. That's always going to fuel, like you were saying, our passions and kind of the way our missions go.
Right. Because, we're uniquely suited to help someone that's been where we've been.
That's right. Yeah, we're not going to come out of a child abuse situation and go, I don't know, do surgery on people unless but like maybe I don't know, just, yeah, our paths can be related to our pain. They have to be. They're interwoven.
Yes. Definitely. So I think that can be a big part of what causes addiction is carrying around all that false identity, not living from center, being pulled by different people, different directions. Another thing I think that's similar, but is just getting lost in the day-to-day grind. Like sometimes, you know, doing the dishes, cleaning the
We love
kitchen,
talking about
cleaning the
doing the
house.
dishes.
Yeah. Whatever, that kind of stuff. You can lose sight of what's important and, get off balance, off center, just because you're so in moving from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And that, I think, provides fertile ground for growing an addiction.
Totally. I struggle with that so much. It's the tyranny of the urgent. It's like,
Right.
and then the center then is, I'm just the guy, the false center is, I'm the guy who gets all the low hanging fruit harvested,
Yeah.
but I never get to the top of the tree, or I pick up the fruit that's on the ground, because it's easy.
Yeah.
And you're busy, you're getting a lot done. You're checking a million things off your list every day, but
Right. But then you're miserable because you're not doing the things that are, your heart passions.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I totally see that leading to addiction, because then, yeah, that empty place in your soul where you're like, I'm not doing anything significant, and you're going to want to act out more because
Right.
that's painful, because you see
Yes.
yourself as not valuable or contributing.
Right. It's mind numbing when you're just checking things off your to-do list.
Yeah. I remember when you were really sick and I was doing a lot of the stuff around the house, sometimes you don't have a lot of choice. I feel like I didn't have a lot of a choice. I don't know what I would have pursued passion wise, although I did become an elder, I think, during that time.
Yeah.
There's some things going on, but it was definitely a get what's got to be done to like make sure the kids have clothes to wear and are clean and fed and go to work and pay the bills and not a lot else.
Right.
Because, and make sure you had what you needed to try to get better. So, but you could see how I could see it getting stuck in a place like that for 15, 20 years would make you go crazy.
Right. Well, and sometimes, like you were saying, circumstances put us in a place where, that stuff still has to get done. But I think tying it back to our center, so we're moving, it's a motivation, it's a mindset, a perspective shift. If we're moving out of center to do those things, like there's a difference between doing the laundry because it needs done and doing the laundry because I love my kids, I love my husband.
Yeah.
I'm doing it to bless them,
Yeah. Even to the glory of God, like Brother Lawrence when he was
Right.
washing dishes. Yeah, because I know, definitely more of a struggle with my addiction during that time too, and it's just like, it's hard to see. Yeah, it makes me think of, I don't know where, I feel like I see this all the time, outside of hospitals, all these nurses and doctors smoking.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
So they're in there saving our lives, and maybe they're not moving from their center because they have to come out and suck on their little pacifiers, in between whatever they're doing, and then they go back in there. And isn't that what we do? If we're not moving from the center that God put there, we're going to need a vice to cope, because it's like that ship without the rudder again.
Yeah.
You're plowing ahead at 100 miles an hour, but where are you going?
Yeah, definitely. So, from a practical standpoint, and we will continue talking about this, but the Sacred Six has been so helpful for us. J.B. Glossinger's book. Writing down your to-do list is entirely based on what's important to me,
Mm-hmm. And, right. And it's not just what's important to me. Like, from a Christian perspective, it's like, what's important to God? How did he make me uniquely suited to do what,
Right.
But yeah, you're putting priorities in there, so you don't just end up washing dishes for 10 hours a day.
Yes.
And having the cleanest dishes on the block.
Yeah, I actually added a section to my planner because I make my own planner, and so next to my to-do list, I have a section where I write down why I'm doing everything on my to-do list, and it's like putting a magnifying glass on it and going, is this important? Should I be doing this? And there have been times when I've written something down and went, why do I have that on my list? Like, that's not helping anybody. It's not in line with who God designed me to be.
Wow.
It's taking up time.
But for some reason it seemed important.
Right.
But then once you look at it, a little bit more scrutiny.
Right. Then I was like, Wow, I'm totally wasting my time here. Huh.
Interesting.
Okay.
And is it weird cutting that stuff?
It
Do
is
you have an
weird and it's
example?
really hard. Well, there was a while where I stopped blogging
Oh,
because I was like, this isn't in line with anything that I want to do. And I had to stop and think about, why am I doing this? Why, what's a good reason to do this? And eventually I realized, oh, when I stopped doing it, actually it gave me the clarity to go, oh, this is why I do it.
sure.
It's because I'm passionate about helping people find freedom and abundance and thinking about theology and
But if you just kept doing it,
right.
when you'd lost that kind of sense of direction, it would have stayed adrift, right?
Yes. So that's one easy thing to do. Ask yourself why you have whatever on your to-do list.
It puts it in perspective because that low-hanging fruit stuff, like it's easy to mow the grass. It's fairly easy to do laundry, to brush your hair and brush your teeth. But do it intentionally
Right.
and understand what it's for. It's to equip us to better do the bigger things.
Exactly.
We don't camp out on brushing teeth,
No.
but it is important.
We love you guys and we are praying for you. Hopefully that, we can all work on being a little more centered because that really is a way to addiction proof your life, vice proof your life.
Yeah, moving in God's favor and design for you. You're a uniquely designed person, and there are things that God has in his mind for you to be doing. That's where we thrive.
Exactly. Thanks to everybody that's been sharing the show. We really appreciate it. If you have found this podcast helpful, please do continue to share it with your friends, etc.
And your enemies.
Yeah, with people, because the more people that are living in the CSCs, the healthier we all are. The better it is for me, the better it is for you. Come back tomorrow and we will talk some more about addiction and being connected.
Sounds good. See you then.
Bye.